Hello and welcome to the medium island of Gimmer Hio. This is World Building Essentials and Exercises. I'm Lewis Nichols. Medium islands may not be the biggest blocks in your world builder's toolkit, but they can be important to a campaign. Gimmer here is about 100 miles east to west and almost as wide north to south. However, no point is much more than 15 miles from the ocean. As it goes with medium islands, Gimmerit has a number of distinct zones offering a variety of adventuring opportunities. It's also surrounded by several small islands. I didn't work up a larger map, but I'm picturing Gimmerit as being near other medium islands in a vast ocean. Let's say that beyond the map, the next closest island is 200 miles away. That's 2 easy days for a mid-dev sailing ship. I'm going to place this island on my world of Pelicar. That means it has 3 moons and salty seas. It's very similar to Earth, although it would drive a physicist crazy once they got into the minutiae of how things were really working. For a normal Earthling, the place is pretty earthy, except for the variety of civilized species anthropomorphizing about. So what does a medium island mean to you as a world-building DM, or a storyteller? It might be a place to start a campaign. An adventuring party could stay very busy on Gimmerit for many years and many levels. More likely, it's a destination. So what do we need to know about this place? For you, it really depends upon what you're using the island for. If your party is just teleporting in, doing some work, and leaving by nightfall, well, in that case, you don't need to know much. Grab on to a few details so your players feel like they've been somewhere, but don't overdo it. It might be the music or the way people dress. Maybe the town bells sound a certain way. It might be the language. Really minor stuff can make a memory if you repeat it 3 times. The first thing you notice when teleporting in is the music. It's drums and strings with a quick rhythm. It feels like you've come during a festival, but apparently this is normal. You enter the building and notice a performer is set up in the corner, providing ambiance to the space. He plays a banjo at a quick pace. It's not amplified, but you have to speak up a bit to be heard. Returning from your victory, you're being treated like heroes. Among the crowd, a band of 5, 3 strings and a couple of drums. They surround you, playing your victory tune. It's just a brief dialogue, and your party will forever remember Paradisium as the city with the guitars. And that's just a short trip. Imagine if they're going to be here for a while. Oh, well then that's just asking for lore dumps and exposition on mundane facts that they definitely need to know about this island. Now, for our purposes, let's start by deciding what we want to emphasize. I've got a big pile of cue cards for this sort of thing, but I'm working outside my usual space. I made a quick list so we can do this at random. Now, why all the complications? Whatever aspect of world building you start with will influence all the rest. Early decisions are dominant decisions. I've already done the map, and that's bad enough. Alright, this looks pretty good. Honestly, there's some of these I hope I don't roll, but I'm supposed to be the professional, so I'll suck it up. Here we go. 3d12. 12s are a reroll. Monsters, Velito, and Industry. Yeah, seems pretty straightforward. Let's start with the weather. Better yet, a tangent. Are you excited? I am. I do this stuff all the time. Cities, nations, trading camps. Between this channel and my own campaign, I'm probably doing 40 places, brand new places, just out of scratch. Every year, just creating stuff. It never gets old. D&D and writing in the fantasy genre and similar games and hobbies. Like, there's a lot of aspects, right? I mean, there's the tactics, the plotting, the themes, character building. For me, it's the world building. It's exciting. I love inventing new places. And if you do too, okay, here's the pressure. Here's the pitch. I didn't mean it to start out this way, but it's here. Guys, if you love this stuff as much as I do, hit the like button and subscribe. Leave a comment if you want to. I know, leaving comments, it's a time burner. It's a commitment. It's putting you out there. I don't blame you if you don't. You just leave a comment. Tell me what color this guy is. Just do something. Help me out, buddies. Okay, that sounds a little pleading. The important part here is we like world building. This is stuff that we get a kick out of. And maybe, perhaps, if I get monetized someday, I can do maybe another 10 or even 20 of these projects every year. And I'll share them. I'll share them cheap. I'll share them in exchange for your idea of what this guy's name should be, and a like and a subscription. And I'll keep doing videos. It never gets old. Where's the button? As promised, now the weather. Gimmer Hio sits at the northern end of a warm sea. Farther north, and you can get real winter, icebergs, snow, and sleet. Our island has a brief winter period where temperatures drop to around 10 degrees Celsius. This is from summer highs near 30, sometimes a little bit more. These are all sea level temps. It gets cooler at altitude, so in the northern mountains, it will get below freezing, and it will snow. Mountains around the island max out at around 4,000 meters, and yes, I will jump between metric and standard on a whim. In the fall and spring, rain comes in from the south. In the winter, it's snow from the north, and the Pistachio Mountains catch it from both directions. This creates fertile, farmable land to the south. The north is drier, but the rivers fed by snowmelt, they are reliable. The island is not a tame place, and monsters are a threat. Since that's one of the bullet points we rolled, let's spend a paragraph or two on the subject. If you recall, I said, I already made the map, and that was bad enough. What I meant by that was, as I drew, I was already making decisions. You can't help it. Luckily, the wyverns I decided were in the western mountains synergized with our roles. Their natural territory is the east and west Brightstone Mountains, where they exist in the tens of thousands. These peaks tend to be steep and jagged, with plenty of room for large nests at their summit. The wyverns here are active fishers, but will eat anything within their range. Young adults are often captured and broken in as steeds, but over the last 20 years, ranching techniques have been successfully developed. There are hundreds now captive along the Pleasant Coast. Trained Brightstone wyverns can go for as much as 75,000 GP, but most are exported for closer to 50. As this is an industrial level effort on Gimmer Hio, prices could go lower, creating an opportunity to buy here and sell for a profit in distant lands. If you're going to allow your party to invest in local markets, but don't want to overcomplicate your life, allow them to buy a share in a consortium of ranches for 1,000 gold pieces per unit. Then once a year, roll 3d6 and subtract 3d4, then multiply that by 10. That's going to give you an average of 300, and that's how much gold they should get each year times the number of shares they purchased. I wouldn't make them pay if there's a shortfall, and some years are going to be better than others. I did a whole video on this sort of thing about a week ago, if you want to delve deeper into economic gaming. Businesses built around the wyvern, they're more than just ranching. Leather goods are made from their hides, alchemy shops utilize their poison, and never ignore the benefits of tourism and the rich coming out to see something big and scary under mostly safe conditions. There's more to wyvern ecology than just wyverns. There's a whole new species of Alito here. Some argue the Miogu, which translates to wyvern striders, though the slur silvertails is pretty common in use. Some people argue that they are a form of dragonborn related to wyverns, but there's always some egghead pointing out that wyverns aren't dragons. Then someone argues that they are a variant of green dragons, just because wyverns and green dragons produce poison. Don't stress out about it. They don't. They are humanoid, a little on the thick side. They range from 5 feet to 7 feet tall, with 6'6" being normal. Shorter Miogu are favored in their own culture because they're just as tough and present a lower profile to the beasties who would make a meal of them, including those wyverns. They used to live in the western portions of the island at a fairly primitive level. That was over 100 years ago, and now they make up a pretty significant portion of the urban populace, tying together the foreign settled cities of the Pleasant Coast. They have a poison tail attack that can be utilized as an unarmed strike for a D4 piercing plus a D8 poison. An additional D8 is gained at levels 5, 11, and 17. They require half rations of water. They are resistant to cold damage or fire damage, decide at character creation, and they have advantage on athletics checks when it comes to climbing rock faces. At 5th level, the Myogu gains the ability to glide. They may never gain altitude and lose 1 meter for every 2 meters traveled. At 7th level, this is extended to 1 meter per 3 meters. A glide may be used once per long rest. There are also native dwarves on the island, but they stick pretty much to themselves. They live in, or rather under, the Death's Head Peninsula. They are normal dwarves, but low development and violent. Some people believe them to be cannibals. They can be found in small numbers around the island, generally individuals who were taken as a youth by adventuring teams operating in the area. They occasionally raid the northern settlements and have proven capable of raising forces numbering in the high hundreds of warriors. Now, what about monsters? Let's pick a few. Gnolls are a serious problem in the Central Lakes region. They won a war against the Myogu and have taken over a great deal of the West. They live in small bands, just as willing to terrorize each other as they are outsiders. Yenogu recognizes the packs on Gimmer Hio, increasing the risk of organized war parties threatening the eastern cities. You probably noticed, but this can be turned into a substantial campaign arc, something we unfortunately don't have time for here and now. For the island's second potential BBEG, I'm going to put a Lich's tomb in these mountains. Say the dwarves used to live here too, but the society failed. Their reanimated corpses make up a big part of our Lich's armies. He's gonna need a name. How about Larmis? Or Larry, if you like. Larry maintains his research and has ties to the cities around the island. Occasionally, Larry is consumed by homicidal thoughts and does some damage, but usually he spends his time inventing evil perversions of natural and not so natural beasts. If you really want to go crazy, put Larry and Yenogu at odds, each controlling big chunks of the island's underground economy and corrupt governments. Do too much damage to one, and the other becomes more powerful. You may have noticed that it takes a lot to summarize an island of this size, and we're starting to go long. So let's hit some key points, fast and easy. Paradisium is the biggest city on the island. It's development level 7, so pretty advanced. There are magical services available here from several high-level casters. Its population is 80,000. Teleport circles connect its markets to several other international cities. Private circles are also available. Other cities are much smaller, ranging from 7 to 15,000. The southern coast and islands are speckled with fishing towns and farm centers. The entire southern population is over 1 million, denser toward the shorelines. The north is development level 5 at best, so a lot more like medieval Europe. The rural population is also much lower, just because it's more dangerous. These are all city-states, colonies of outside powers. They have varying degrees of independence, and there is an independence movement, as they have more in common with each other than their founding nations. You can play up the major differences in culture between cities, different marriage and burial practices and varied language. The Myogu are spread throughout the cities, creating a unifying force. Give them their own language as well. Zooming in on Paradisium, there is a strong nightlife, with magically enhanced stringed instruments and lots of percussion. These tunes are usually backed by 2 or 3 singers. There is not a strong tradition of oral storytelling. History and art are not stressed, as the region hasn't been around long enough to have much to look back on. There are theaters in the city, where comedies are favored over anything else. Militaries, navies and ground forces alike, and Wyvern riders, well, they're all from the founding nations. For the most part, their presence is welcome, but there are those favoring a stronger local militia. This is why what you develop first is most important. If we would have started with military or government concerns, we might have ended up with an independence scenario. As it is, I'll keep that on the back burner, or forget about it entirely. You can have rebel rousers and have them not be a big deal at the same time. If you'll remember, religion was on that initial list. I would say that Paradisium has up to 10 pretty major places of worship, with a few smaller ones too. In a world where divine magic exists, stable religious traditions are sustainable. If you want to play politics with the gnolls, lich, or home governments, you can definitely involve the churches. We'll end with a landmark. Lake Maniopolis is highly engineered. The city docks boast high development shipyards that look like something out of America's early industrial period. There are cranes and dry docks run by skilled and leveled artificers, wizards, and engineers of all descriptions. Some of the fastest warships in the world are built here. The Paradisium Raider is 120 feet long, 20 feet wide, mounts 3 sails, and is heavily armed with flamethrowers and self-loading ballista. The lower locks prevent ships from getting any larger, so the city specialized. Their raiders can move, fully armed, at 5.5 miles per hour. Rules' written warships move at 5 for a reference. The ships are also equipped to carry a single Wyvern on the aft castle for scouting and other purposes. Okay, that's it. Never enough time. But do keep an eye out for related videos. I'm glad that you could all join me today. We're in the heart of winter, and it's barely below freezing. Of course, since I recorded this, it's been like minus 30, so who knows. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day, whether it's warm or cold where you're at. You all deserve it. Hit the like button and subscribe. I'd love to talk to you in the comments. I love you all. Cheers.